Yes, okay.
Okay, welcome everyone. My understanding is that there's a shloshim for Ben and Kafir, I think it is, that some people might know, and so it overlaps. I understand it was a difficult decision for some, deciding between the shear, between going there. That's probably why some of our usuals are not with us, but we record the shear anyway, so that way we could send us along to them. Now, we are on Vav Amid Bays. This is 6b. And once again, we are in the middle of a section with a number of miscellaneous statements. The commonality, the common thread running through all of these cases is that we are teaching miscellaneous statements by Rebbe Yitzchak. So Rebbe Yitzchak first weighed in on Hilchos Purim, and then we left off with a Gemara that says, Yagati v'lo matzasi al tamen, that if someone says that I struggle to understand Torah and I wasn't successful, don't believe him. But rather, someone who says, Yagati umatzasi, someone who says that I did struggle to understand and I succeeded, that is somebody who we are to believe. So I came by something interesting in this book I like to use, the Tzotzei HaShas, which basically it's good for off the beaten path ideas on Agadic Gemaras and sometimes even on Halachic Gemaras. So I'll read for you this really short little snippet from the Divrei Yisrael. So what's it mean, Yagati umatzasi? Yagati is like Yagia, you really sweated, you exerted yourself. The word yagati implies that I exerted myself. Umitzia, but the word matzasi, I found something like, what's a mitzia? What's a mitzia? Mitzia is something I happen to find, like elu mitzios. I'm walking down the street and I find an object on the floor. It's a mitzia. It just happens into my lap. So this refers to the kind of learning that one can gain even when they're not necessarily exerting themselves at the moment. But really it should say, if I exert myself, then I will attain that which I exerted myself to understand. Why is it not the Yagati being Sagti? But rather it says Yagati Matsasi. I exerted myself and therefore I happened to find Pshat. That doesn't really fit with the theme. So rather, what does Yagati Matsasi mean? Because what it means is, after you finally understand Pshat in the Gemara or Pshat in Tosfos, after putting in lots of effort, it's to know that it wasn't necessarily through my own effort alone that I understood it. But rather, one's supposed to view this as a form of siyata d'shmaya, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu helped me along the way. So it's not that I just simply exerted myself and therefore I understood the Gemara, but it's like a mitzia. In other place, he says that this will happen all the time. You're sitting in a meeting and you're having a brainstorming session, and you're just trying to write ideas on the board, and then later on you're in the middle of cooking dinner, and all of a sudden while you're absent-minded, then pshat comes to you. So that's what it means, umatsasi, that you exert yourself, and because of it, even though with your own mental faculties you may have not understood it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses you with an understanding to reward you for the exertion that you put in. So that's I don't know if that's pshat per se, but it's certainly a nice drush in understanding Yagati umatsasi. Anyway, that was the Gemara that we left off with last time. I promised to give an idea, to elaborate on it. There's many, every rabbi and his grandma has a drasha on how to understand Yagati Matsasi, but we'll suffice with that. So we are on Vav Beis, that is 6b, And we are at Amar Rebbe Yitzchak. Amar is the last word on the line. I am guessing it's roughly 15 lines down from the top. Okay. I would imagine it's still in the first section of Art Scroll. Here we go. V'amar Rebbe Yitzchak. Imra Isa Rasha Shasham Misachekeslo Al Tiskarako. Remember, miscellaneous teachings by Rebbe Yitzchak right now. Rebbe Yitzchak teaches us that if one sees that a Rasha, a wicked person, is in a fortunate position, he's in an advantageous position for himself, don't pick a fight with him. Shnemar al titacher b'mereim, that you shouldn't stir up trouble with those who are wicked. V'lo, furthermore, shedrachav matzlichen, he'll be successful. Shnemar yachilu drachav b'chol eis. V'lo, and moreover, el shezoche b'din, he'll be able to succeed you when in judgment. This I don't know if this is referring to specifically, but it's like how Adar is a good month to go to Din Torah with a non-Jew, to go to a court case with a non-Jew. Keep that in mind, lawyers. And but during the month of Av, it's not fortuitous to go to not Din Torah per se, but to go to court, to a trial, litigation. So he will succeed. He will defeat you in din. Shnemar maromish batecha minekdo. Flood, and furthermore, El Sharob Isonav, he'll be able to look at his enemies mockingly that he has smitten them, he's defeated them. Shnemar kol tzorav yafiach behem. He's just gonna blow them away with his breath. So it seems from this statement of Rabbi Yitzchak that if one sees that the wicked are triumphing, it's probably not the best time to pick a fight with them. However, the Gemara asks, Ani, is this true? We have an antithesis of this by Rabbi Yochanan. One is permitted to fight with Rishayim, with the wicked in this world. Shenemar, Ozvei Torah Yahalu Rasha, V'shomrei Torah Yisgarubam. So it seems explicit from this pasuk in Mishlei that says those who are Shomrei Torah, those who keep the Torah, Yisgarubam, they should be picking a fight with the wicked. Itanya, and is supported by a brisa. Rav Dostai Bar Masan Amar, Mutter le'skaros b'rishayim b'al mazeh. One is permitted to fight with the Rishayim in this world. And if someone's going to say, hey, aren't there some sukkim that tell you not to do it? The person who's deducing these verses to tell you not to pick a fight with them, it's because he's afraid that his sins will be the cause of his downfall. This is like when Yaakov Avinu says, "Katon to mikol chasadim," that I've become diminished because of all the good that you've done for me, God. It's a similar idea. Not that Yaakov was sinning, but those were like the people when we were fighting against Amalek. Those who fell in battle were the sinners. So basically, someone who is lacking in zechuyos. So that's someone who might make an excuse not to stand up for the honor of God and fight the wicked in this world. But don't misinterpret the psukim to tell you to whimper away and let evil triumph. Ella al titacher b'mereim. What's mean al titacher? It means like don't join in together with them in their competitions. Lios kimereim, to be like the wicked. Val tikneva ose evla. And when it says tikneva ose evla, lios kose evla. So kina can mean two things. Kina could be a lashon of jealousy, that I desire to be like them, to emulate them, or it can mean to be zealous, like God is a kel kana, that God is Hashem is a zealous God, or in the case of Pinchas, kanayim poginbo, a zealot is it doesn't mean jealousy in that context. Now there's a connection between them. So what's it saying? It's not saying don't be zealous to fight for God. No, you should be zealous to fight for God. What it's saying is don't be jealous of the Rishayim, that you want to emulate the ways of the Rishayim. V'omer al yikna libecha bechatayim. Right? You shall not desire, your heart shall not desire the sins, the sinfulness. Phyllis, you got a question?
I was thinking jealousy, it's good jealousy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the same word, so there's definitely a connection between being zealous and jealous, the fighting for your exclusive relationship. Definitely there's a connection, but you're correct, Phyllis. So, but our question now is, Rabbi Yisrael on one hand says, don't pick a fight with the Rishayim. Rashi Bar Yochai says, on the other hand, no, you could pick a fight with Rishayim. Is it a machlokes? Maybe. Or alternatively, the Gemara says, maybe they're talking about two different scenarios. And the Gemara is going to give three possible differentiations to say really everybody's on the same page. There's just a different detail, a different variable that they were addressing. So what are the three possible solutions? Lo kasha, haba milidei, haba milidishmaya. It depends why you're fighting the Russia. If you're fighting this wicked person for your own needs, I don't know, you got into a dispute with the guy over, I don't know, he's your neighbor, and you're disputing exactly, who has to shovel what on the walkway. So that's a personal matter. That's a personal grievance. But if you are doing so to stand up for Mili Dishmaya, to stand up for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then certainly that's where Rashi Bar Yochai is talking about, that you always stand up for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Another distinction, of course, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, one always needs to stand up. But what is the distinction between Yitzchak and Rashi Bar Yochai? Lo kasha, it depends. If you are a tzaddik gamor, if you are an absolute tzaddik, I don't really know who could claim to be a tzaddik gamor, but in theory, if you are, then even for your own personal matters, you don't have to worry about getting into a fight with a Russia who seems to be doing pretty well. But if you're not a tzaddik gamor, which I think most people can't qualify for tzaddik gamor status, then don't pick a fight with him. It says in the pasuk that the Russia will be able to swallow up he who is more righteous than him. Sadak mimenu bolea, sadak gamor eno bolea. What it implies is someone who's more righteous than the Russia will triumph over, but someone who's a sadak gamor, he will not be able to swallow. And then finally, I'll just give the third distinction, and then I'll take questions. Alternatively, what's the distinction between Rabbi Yitzchak and Rashi Bar Yochai? Sham misachekes lo shani. Rabbi Yitzchak's talking about when the Russia is, things tend to be going well for him. He's having good mazel. Don't pick a fight with him then. And Rashi Bar Yochai is saying is, on an average day, when he has no particular advantage, you could pick a fight with him. So I don't have it actually with me. I realized I should have brought over here, but Rav Elchanan Wasserman has a beautiful formulation. It's recorded in Kovitz Mamarim, where Rav Elchanan Wasserman talks about how people think that being righteous means always to be timid. Like, I'll just ignore things. I'll just continue doing my good stuff and ignore the evil in this world. But part of being righteous is not just to bring good into the world, but is also to fight the evil that's in this world. And this Gemara speaks to that point. Welcome, Gloria, Mazel Tov on the grandson. All right, Shagrola Torah Chubla Masim Tovin. Mazel Tov on the grandson.
Great grandson.
Sorry,
Hey, Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
And he's still on with us tonight. Beautiful.
Well, I'm late.
Hey,
What time? When did he arrive?
You're doing better than most people in the community, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, any questions on this Gemara before we go forward? Okay. The next three words are Amar Ula. What's the next word after Ula? How would you pronounce
Italia. Italia.
Italia.
Ah, Italia.
Oh, no, I didn't mean my daughter. I meant Italy.
Oh,
That
well,
also.
I was thinking of your daughter. How's that?
There you go. Well, actually, it is spelled this. Well, we do tie with the hey, but I guess if you were to Aramaicize it, it would be with an aleph. Very good. So, this last piece before the Mishnah is really connected to the previous Gemaras. If you remember last week on Vavim and Aleph, and also the beginning of Vavim and Beis, we were talking about the Roman Empire, and we were talking about Asa. So this is just one last miscellaneous piece that wraps up that discussion, and then we get to the Mishnah. And I am very excited for the Mishnah that we are going to be doing tonight. Why? Because it talks about a leap year when we have an Adar Rishon and an Adar Sheni, 2 Adars. And we are in the first month of Adar right now. So we're going to talk halacha l'maisa as well. Okay. Amar Ula, Italia shel Yavan zekrat gadol shiromi. Italy was considered a major city, if that's the right term for Prague. It was a major portion. It was like the capital of the Roman Empire. It was 300 parsa by 300 parsa, huge distance. And 365 different separate distinct marketplaces corresponding to the days of the year. And the smallest one, which was designated for those who sold birds, it was 16 mil by 16 mil. And remember, a mil is 2,000 amos. So it's a lot. It's big. That's the point it's saying. And their king would, every day, he would just go from one marketplace to the other. So during the course of 365 days, he would have a meal and he would have a banquet in each of these marketplaces. He was living it up. It's like these TV shows you see sometimes. When I go over to my in-laws, they like keeping the TV on always. And they have all these like reality shows or whatnot. So it's like this guy who goes to all these diners throughout the United States. And he just like, I don't know what the name is, but he just like
an Anthony Bourdain.
Maybe, I don't even know the name. But it's a guy.
You talk about diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yeah, I think that's it, Sadie. Okay, so you watch it also. So I was watching the episode. He just goes from diner to diner and tries out all this really unhealthy fried food, and it looks really delicious. Okay, maybe I don't want to insult your show. There might be more than one show that does this. And there was one that Marissa was watching where this guy goes to carnivals and tries out different foods there, and it's not good. It doesn't encourage me to eat healthy, so I probably shouldn't see it. Now, but that's what the king was doing at any rate. The Hadarba, and anyone who lived in Italy, even though he may have not been born there, but he's a citizen of the capital. Noto Prasmi Beis HaMelech, he received some kind of prize, some kind of perk from being from the Beis HaMelech. And someone who was born there, even though he doesn't live there, he also receives some kind of benefit from the seat of government. And there were 3,000 bathhouses. 3,000 bathhouses in the city. And there were 500 of these kind of like exhaust vents that would push smoke from out of the city. So, they were sort of environmental. They just push all the smoke outside of the city. Sido Echad, now this sounds familiar when we're talking about Tiberia. Sido Echad Yam, one side was sea. Sido Echad Harim, one side was Haruvos, mountains and valleys. Sido Echad Mechitza Shel Barzel, one side was the iron curtain, it was the iron wall. Sido Echad Chulasis Umetzua. And the other side, the final side, was protected by Chulasis. Rashi tells us that's a makom avanim dakos, small little pebbles, and also Mitsula, which was swampy areas. So the question is, in a city like that, would that be considered a wall? If it was wall from the times of Yeshua, is that considered a wall or not? I don't know. It's definitely much more complicated in Tveria. That brings us to our Mishnah. Okay, deep breath.
Rabbi, what was the point of this?
The point of
whole
this
Megillah.
is not completely clear to me, but it connects back to our previous discussion. We were discussing the nature of the Roman Empire. I think what the point is to make is that the Romans
breaking up.
were. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No. Yes.
I hear you fine.
You hear me fine?
Fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Very good. It's some of the decadence of the Roman Empire, because again, it's the Romans are. I don't know if this is true, but the way Chazal understood is that they are, if not the genetic, at very least the ideological heirs of Esau. And so it's just talking about their relationship to Gashmias, to materialism, and the decadence that they had. I'm sure if you look in the Agada commentaries, there is more to mine from the details. We're not just getting random details, there's probably meaning behind it. Perhaps we'll do this for a Thursday morning class when we go through the Agada. How about that? Okay.
Rabbi, it reminds me of the Megillah, the actual Megillah that explains the lavishness that was going on over there.
Yeah, that's a good point, Phyllis. Right? I guess Maseches Megillah takes after the actual Megillah, its namesake, talking about the lavishness of these empires, how great they thought they were before they eventually fell, just like everyone else.
Mhm.
Very good. Okay. A little bit of an introduction for this Mishnah. There are 4 main mitzvos that one fulfills on Purim. Can anyone name them for me? One per person. Okay. What, Phyllis?
Not Lav Yonim.
Atanas Lev Yonim is number 1. Gifts to the poor. Okay. Can we get number 2?
Reading the Megillah.
Very good. Reading the Megillah. I thought that would be number 1. Good, Toby. Can someone give me another one? I'll give you a hint. It's a fundraiser for the shul right now for the youth department.
Shalach Manot.
Yep, Shalach Manos. Very good. And then?
Money for the poor.
Oh, good. So that's what Phyllis mentioned. And then the
Mishteh.
Tzidas part
Mishteh. The
is the
Mishteh.
meal, and drinking wine is included in the meal of Purim. In addition to that, also, I believe starting next week, we're going to read Parshas Shkolim. There are certain maftirs that we're going to read that are read during Chodesh Adar, each one for its own particular reason. Excuse me. So the question also is going to be, to what degree are we mafid on that? And then one final detail is that on Purim, it is usher, one may not fast, and one should not be performing mourning practices. Now, there's a machlokes how true that actually is, but certainly we don't say tachanon on Purim. And halacha l'maisa, by the way, in case you missed it, this week, on Tuesday and Wednesday, was Purim and Shushan Purim Katan. So we didn't say tachanon, even though it's Adar Rishon. Halachically, it's halachic. I started with halachically.
What happens if a person is sitting Shiva and Purim comes out in the middle?
Right. So Purim, I don't think Purim cancels. Oh man, I always blank out on the Purim, the smaller holidays. I'll check that one up for you if it's halacha l'maisa. No, it's Hanukkah. Okay, I noticed the distinction between Hanukkah and Purim. I have to check that one up. But regarding Hilchos Avelos, actually, there's a question that if somebody has a yahrzeit and the person passed away in Adar in a regular year, and then it comes a leap year, when do you say Kaddish?
Yeah,
What was that, Phyllis?
No, you were breaking up, it just stopped.
Oh, okay. So
I couldn't hear you, but now it's okay. Goes on and off.
Oh, all right. So hopefully, you know what, we'll get back to the shul soon and then the Wi-Fi there. Okay, so as we were saying, so the most Ashkenazim, the way we paskin, is that you do Kaddish actually during the first month. I think Moshe talks about doing during the first and the second month, but the reason to do during the first month is that the second month is supposed to be the more joyous one. So we do Avelos matters in the first month. A similar question comes up also with a bar mitzvah. If a boy was born during an Adar during a non-leap year, and then his bar mitzvah falls out during a leap year, so then he'll practice it. He'll observe his bar mitzvah in Adar Sheni in the second month. Now, if he was born during a leap year and his bar mitzvah comes out during a leap year, if he was born during Adar Rishon, then he will have his bar mitzvah during Adar Rishon, the first month of Adar. So there's a lot of halachos regarding Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni, but I'm just giving you some general background before we jump in, just so you know what we actually do before I confuse you with all the opinions in the Gemara that we don't actually do. Sound good?
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions on the introductory information? Okay, let's do this. Karas the Megillah Adar Rishon, but it's Abra Hashana. If one reads the Megillah during the first month of Adar, and then they decide, back in the day, we're going to learn this shortly. I believe it's the fourth mitzvah in Sefer Chinuch. So we're going to, God willing, get to that hopefully in a month. We're going to learn about how Kiddush HaChodesh worked, but nowadays we have a set calendar, but back in the day they didn't have that. So let's say they decide to make it a leap year, and they add on a second Adar. Oh, but wait a minute, didn't you already observe Purim during the first Adar? Do I need to repeat all the mitzvahs all over again? So Koro Saba Adar Sheni, the halacha is, even though you laid the Megillah during the first month of Adar, you have to read it during Adar Sheni, the second month of Adar. Ein bein Adar Rishon Adar Sheni. In general, we don't distinguish between the first and second month of Adar. Creates a Megillah Matanas of Yonim. The only thing that we are particular about is that Mikra Megillah and giving gifts to the poor needs to be done during the second Adar. And by the way, so Tiferes Yisrael points out, Matanas of Yonim is code word for other mitzvos relating to Simcha. So that means the Purim meal and Mishlach Mos also needs to be done during the second month. So basically, all the essential mitzvos of Purim Day need to take place during Adar Sheni. That good? All right. So the Gemara says, "Hala inyan seder parshios zeh v'zeh shavin." But when it comes to the seder parshios, then either month is really okay to do them. So we're going to do Parsha Shkalim, Zachor, Para. We're going to do all these different maftirs. In theory, if one laid them during Adar Rishon, it would be okay. Why? Because these are mitzvahs that are done during Adar. They're not particular to the day of Purim. They just happen to coincide with Purim. Think about Parsha Zachor, for instance. We read about Amalek. Really, any time during the year, I could read Parsha Zachor and fulfill the mitzvah midoraisa on a biblical level. But Chazal said, if it's only one time a year we need to do it, we may as well read Parsha Zachor right before Purim. That way we can remind ourselves to destroy Amalek. And since Haman is a descendant of Amalek, it all fits thematically that we're destroying Haman, we're destroying Amalek as well. Good. Now here's the question. Who is the author of our Mishnah? Mani Mas Nisan. Lo Tanakama, Velo Rabbi Yossi, Velo Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. We're going to see a Bryce in a moment with three opinions, and between all three of them, none of them seem to accord with our Mishnah. Titania. Karues a Megillah ba'Adar Rishon, it is Abra Hashana. If one reads the Megillah in Adar Rishon, and then they make it into a leap year, they add on a second month of Adar. Opinion number one. You still there, guys? Looks like my screen
Isn't
froze.
there a class that is something at 8? Isn't there something at 8? Rabbi Naftali Wolf from, it was on
Get Young Israel.
isn't it, it's on our daily.
I don't know.
In case people, it was for in memory of Bennett Fair. They're doing something for the Shloshim, so they've advertised it on our.
Oh, I didn't know.
But
It's at 8 o'clock.
I don't think it's on our Zoom.
All
Yeah,
right.
Well, they give you the information on the daily. Today it's CAS.
But that doesn't mean that, different.
Yeah, it's different. Okay.
All right.
Sorry.
We're back. We're good.
Didn't look at the number.
Okay. We're back. We're good. No, don't hear me. Am I not coming through? Hello.
I hear you fine.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't hear you guys. That's the issue. All right. My screen keeps freezing, but you hear me. If you read during, so here we go. If you read the Megillah during the first month, and then the second month was turned into Adar Sheni, Koronos of Adar Sheni, you need to repeat the Megillah in the second month. Shechol mitzvos shenahagos b'sheni nogos barishon chutz mimikra Megillah. So the first opinion says all the mitzvahs you did during the first month, you were yotzei, but except for Megillah, Megillah is the one mitzvah that you have to repeat during the second month. Right? Yossi Omer ain't koronos of either sheni shechol mitzvos shenahagos b'sheni nogos barishon. So the other opinion, the second opinion of Rav Yossi, is that he says that all mitzvos shenahagos b'sheni nogos barishon. It doesn't matter. First month, second month. If you already read everything during the first month, you're yotzei. Rishon Gamliel Omer, Mishra Yossi, Af Koros Abadar Sheni, Shechol mitzvos shenahagos b'sheni ein nogos barishon. So Rishon Gamliel and Rosa ben Rav Yossi are diametrically opposed. Elazar ben Rav Yossi says you can yotzei everything in the first month, second month, you choose. It's up to you. However, Rav Gamliel says that you are only yotzei all mitzvos in the second month. Now, none of these accord with our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says that you will need to repeat Mikra Megillah and gifts to the poor, matanas la'evyonim. But there's no opinion here that says one needs to repeat those two mitzvahs. The closest we get is seemingly the Rabbanan, the first opinion, that say you have to repeat Mikra Megillah, but they don't say you also have to redo giving gifts to the poor, matanas la'evyonim. The next phrase in the Gemara, possibly should not be there, Girsa wise. So we'll just skip that for now. It confuses things. Amra Papa. In addition to the question of the mitzvahs on Purim Day, there's also the second question of reading the special Torah readings during the month of Adar. So everyone agrees. So not everyone agrees. Amra Papa. Seder Parshas Ikabenayu. They also differ regarding if I read all these maftirs, all these parshios, right? All the parshas we discussed earlier. If I read them during Adar Rishon, do I need to repeat them during Adar Sheni? So the Tana Kama Savar, the Chachila B'Sheni, the Avav Rishon Avud. Bar Mi Mikra Megillah, the Af Al Gav the Kar Rishon Kar B'Sheni. According to the Tana Kama is consistent. The only thing you need to repeat during the second month is Mikra Megillah. If you lame the special parshios during the first month, you've been yotzei. Rav Eliezer Yossi Savar Afila Mikra Megillah Chachila Barishon. And Rav ben Rav Yossi was the guy who said anything can be done during the first month. So Lechatchila, if you want to lay those parshios during Adar Rishon, just let the have fun. Rishon Gamliel Savar Afilu Seder Parshios Ikar Barishon Kar B'Sheni. And Rishon Gamliel says, even the Seder Parsha, he's so mocking. Rishon Gamliel believes so strongly that Adar Sheni, the second month, is the real Adar. That he says, even these Parshios that aren't directly connected to Purim itself, you still need to lay them during the second month of Adar. So, okay. Here's the issue, though. We got three wonderful opinions here on the books. but none of them seem to correspond with the opinion in our Mishnah, which is curious because this brisa seems to be comprehensive. It seems to be giving us all the opinions on the matter. Why is the opinion of our Mishnah not listed in here? How do we reconcile that? So the Gemara says, you know what? Maybe actually there is a connection. We could actually say that one of these three opinions is in accordance with the opinion in our Mishnah. Money. Itanakama, kasha mata, sorry, I just lost place. Right, Itanakama, kasha matanos, Lezer Yosi. So here are the issues. If we're going to say it's the opinion of Tanakama, we have an issue in terms of Matanos of Yonim. Why does the old say Matanos of Yonim needs to be repeated during the second month? Rabbi Eliezer of Yosi, Kashanami Mikra Megillah. If it's Rabbi Eliezer ben Rav Yossi, why doesn't Rabbi Eliezer ben Rav Yossi require the repetition of Mikra Megillah during the second month? And Yerusha ben Gamliel, Kasha Seder Parshas. And if it's the Rosh Gamliel is the time of our Mishnah, why does Rosh Gamliel, why is he also makbid on repeating Seder Parshios, the additional Parshios during the second month? So La'olam, we might answer Tanakama, Utana Mikra Megillah, but who I did Matasav Yonim Tahabahatalia. Why did the Tanakama say Matasav Yonim as well? Why did he only specify Mikra Megillah needs to be repeated? Because remember we talked about this earlier. When we read the Megillah, we also give gifts to the poor because the Aniyim, when they see that we're going to lay Megillah, they expect to receive their gifts. So by saying in shorthand, you need to repeat Megillah reading in the second month, that implies that also the other mitzvahs like Matanas Levion and gifts to the poor need to be repeated. So possibly the Tanakama is the opinion in our Mishnah. Alternatively, maybe it's the opinion of Rosh Gamliel. And you just need to kind of, our Mishnah is missing a few words, and this is how you have to read our Mishnah. There is no meaningful distinction in terms of fulfilling your obligations between the first and second month of Adar, Ella Mikra Megillah Tanos, except for reading Megillah and Matanos Leviyonim. But when it comes to not giving a hesped, not eulogizing, and not fasting, then both months we don't fast and we do not give hespedim on the 14th and 15th in both months. The Seder Parshios lo Myri. But doesn't Rosh Gamliel, doesn't he hold that you also need to say lay the special Parshios during the second month of Adar as well? The Mishnah didn't say I have to do that. The Mishnah is not talking about Seder Parshios. The Mishnah is talking about what mitzvahs do I need to do on the day of Purim. But Seder Parshios is something you read during Adar, but it's not has nothing to do with the holiday of Purim. So our Mishnah is simply not talking about that. But it may very well fit with Rav Shimon Gamliel, who says that Adar Rishon Adar Sheni, the second month of Adar, is the true month of Adar. And therefore, if you did all of Purim and all the mitzvahs during the first month, sorry, Charlie, you got to do it all over again during the second month of Adar. To be honest, there's worse holidays to repeat. Though, as I've said many times, I always get little anxiety attacks whenever Mikra Megillah happens because, okay, for 40 minutes straight, I got to make sure to hear every last word. And if that kid's cap gun goes off or that adult's phone goes off, I'm going to miss a word and miss out on the mitzvah and say, not easy. So, Amar Rabbi Chia bar Ovid, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hilchas Lekram Shimon Gamliel Amar Mishum Rabbi Yossi. And who do we paskin like? We paskin like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel in the name of Rabbi Yossi that, yes, Purim is practiced during Adar Sheni. And by the way, guys, I don't know if we were paying attention, but this week on Tuesday, we did not read the Megillah. We didn't give Matanos Leviyonim. We didn't have a special Sudas Purim. There are some who say, if you look in Tosos, we're not going to read through the whole thing, but you look at Tosos, the second one on the page, Dibur Maskler, Eliezer, Yossi, Savar Avmik Megillah. Tosos quotes an opinion there that says, Yesh noag in lasses to me Mishnah simcha ba'avar simcha Mishnah starshal adoration. There's some will have a festive meal during Purim Katan and Shushan Purim Katan in Adar Rishon. However, Tosfos says at the end that halacha is she'ain tzarich lahachmir lasses Mishnah simcha ba'adar Rishon. You don't need to have a special festive meal in the first month, and I guess I unwittingly followed that halacha by not doing that. What do we do to acknowledge that that Purim and Shushan Purim Katan in the first month of Adar still has a little bit of significance? So what do we do? Like we said, we do not fast and we do not give eulogies on those days. And at very least, we don't say Tachana. No one has ever complained about not saying Tachana, except if you're in a yeshivish community on Yom HaAtzmaut. Then you dafka have to say Tachana on those days. Okay.
It's frozen.
I kid you not. Okay.
Rabbi, I lost you on that one. You froze.
Oh,
Did you say the last sentence? You were talking about, think about whatever the last sentence was. I just couldn't get the last sentence.
The last part was, I said that Adar Rishon, we don't have Purim, as we've just discovered, hopefully a few days ago.
Right, you said you don't have the
we
stadium, you
don't
don't have
say Tachana on those days.
Right.
And I said, no one's ever complained about not saying Tachanun.
I think my computer doesn't like when you say the word Tachanun. It keeps freezing everything.
No one likes when they hear Tachanun, so it's your computer's is like everyone else. Maybe
Your computer's
worry
very
about
picky.
computers becoming sentient.
Very.
Yeah. All right.
The computer will have to say Tachanun soon.
We learned in our Thursday morning class, Tachanun can be a very dangerous prayer.
Right.
Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Ushnehem Mikra Echad Arshi. So okay? I get it. There are three opinions. Either you need to repeat everything during the second month, like we said, Rabbi Gamliel, or like Rabbi Eliezer or Yossi, you don't need to repeat anything during the second month. Or the first opinion, or Tanakama, you just need to repeat Mikra Megillah the second month. Okay, but what's the rationale about giving preference to the first month or preference to the second month? What's the rationale behind it? Otherwise, it just seems like an arbitrary machlokes. What would make me more inclined to prefer the second month over the first month? So I think, Toby, early back when we started learning Megillah, you may have brought up this idea. Amar Yochanan, Shnei Mikra Echad Darshu. They both interpret the same pasuk, actually. They get the same data.
The proximity.
What?
No, I just started saying it's the proximity to Pesach that gives it the primacy.
Very good, very good. So that's exactly what we're going to get to. So first, they look at the same pasuk. The pasuk says, "B'chol shana v'shana." Each and every year needs to be the same. We've seen this before. Rabbi Eliezer Yossi Savar, B'chol shana v'shana, Ma B'chol shana v'shana, Adar Samach Shvat, Avkan Adar Samach Shvat. Rabbi Yossi, when he looks at this pasuk, it says each and every year needs to be the same. Just like Adar followed Shvat the previous year, so too the Adar that we practice Purim in also should follow Shvat in a leap year, i.e., the first month. No, Shemel says the opposite. Just like every year, Adar the Adar that we lane, Mikra Megillah, and we practice Purim precedes Nisan. So too in a leap year, it should be the second Adar because it precedes Nisan. All right, Shkoyach, but both seem like equally valid interpretations. Which one should I choose? So Bishla, right? That's right. Yossi, Mistaver, Taiba, the Imav Yirn Al HaMitzvos. So what's the reason, right? That's about Yossi? To Imav Yirn Al Mitzvos. What's Imav Yirn Al Mitzvos? Imav Yirn Al Mitzvos is if I come by one mitzvah, I shouldn't bypass a mitzvah to do the other. A good example I could think of, Tosfos gives an example we're probably not familiar with. A good example I could think of, I'm sorry for the men, is that you're supposed to put on your tefillin, your shel yad first, and then you put on the shel rosh. But as an issue is that if you accidentally pick up your shel rosh first, then technically you're not supposed to bypass the shel rosh, the headgear, to then put it down and then put on the arm one. So one solution is that you could put it back down, you kind of like walk away for a minute and make a hefsek and then come right back, and then you pick up the shel yad and put it in the proper order. But that's the concept of Eimar Vir al mitzvos. It's disrespectful to, if one mitzvah comes to me first, I shouldn't push one mitzvah to the side to do a second mitzvah before I do the first one. So since Adar Rishon comes first, makes sense, I should do Purim as soon as possible. It's we can get into the whole sugi on it. It's related to the idea of the reason Magdin and the mitzvahs that we rush to do a mitzvah as well. There's just some nuances I think that distinguish them if you want to get into the lumdus, but it's the same idea. Or mitzvah yadecha al tachlitzena, that when a mitzvah comes to your hands, you shouldn't let it rise. You shouldn't let it become chametz. Don't let it just sit there. So that's the idea of why after Yom Kippur, many will, right after Yom Kippur, build their sukkahs, because you take the first opportunity to fulfill a mitzvah that you're able to complete. So that's the rationale to prefer the first month of Av. What Rosh Gamliel my taima? If so, that's a great argument. Why does Rosh Gamliel prefer the second month then? So we're going to have to apply the Toby principle, which overrides this. Al Rabbi Tavi, time of the Rosh Gamliel, mismak ula gula adif. True, emavirna mitzvos, but we have a superseding principle that it's ideal to be somech geula legeula, that we should have Adar, the story of Purim, which celebrates one redemption, and it should be juxtaposed to Nisan, where we celebrate the Pesach redemption. So because we want thematically one geula next to the other geula, I'm not really sure why it's necessary, but I guess it is. Therefore, we practice Purim in Adar Sheni, and that's what we do halacha l'maisa. Okay, very good. Rabbi Elazar is not satisfied with this. He thinks there should still be a stronger scriptural basis to give a preference. So he says, "Taimer Gamliel mehacha desiv." So he invokes another pasuk. L'kayim is igeres hapurim hazos hashenis. So notice it says the word in that pasuk, shenis. Number 2. Rashi says, what's a shenis? B'chodesh hashenis. In the second month is when you should practice, when you should observe Purim. The itzrich lemichtav hashenis. The itzrich lemichtav b'chol shamatzah. I need both psukim. One that says shenis, second, and one that says each and every year should be the same. Why? If all I had was the first pasuk of Shana v'Shana, I could easily read it like the other opinion that I prefer Adar Rishon. Kamash Malan Hashenis. V'yashmin Hashenis, and if all I had was the pasuk that specified the second month, I would think, what's it coming to tell me? Observe Purim during Adar Rishon, and then observe it again during the second month of Adar Sheni. Kamash Malan b'chol shana v'shana. That's why the pasuk b'chol shana v'shana to teach me uniformity, that each year should be the same. Just like last year I only observed Purim once, so too this year I observed Purim only once. And what is that? Shenis during the second month. So good. We have an extra pasuk which helps Rosh Gamliel. What is his opponent? What does his adversary, Elazar ben Rav Yossi, do with this? Initially, they only established Purim for the city of Shushan, but this pasuk comes to tell us that Purim is established for places beyond Shushan as well. And that brings us to the end of our discussion about Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni. So, very halacha l'maisa for us right now. Let's just do one last little piece. and then we'll get more Agadata next time. We're gonna transition from halacha to Agadata coming up. Amar Shmuel bar Yehuda, Sholchan Esther Chacham Kufuni Ladoros. So Esther wrote to the sages of her time, and she said, "Canonize the book of Esther for me. I wrote this Megillah. I saved you guys. Put me in the Tanakh." Shokula, Kina Atmoremsali Labina Umos. What do you mean? That's the funny thing. Everyone learns about the Purim story, but everyone ignores the end of the Megillah, where it says that the Jews just went out killing all the people in Shushan, and they're like, "Oh, we get an extra day to kill people in Shushan. Let's celebrate that." So there's things in there that nations that might not look fondly upon the Jewish people will read, and they'll say, "Wow, these Jews are a bunch of bloodthirsty murderers," and it'll lead to anti-Semitism. So the Chacham are saying, why would we want to canonize Megillah Esther? It's just going to be used against us in the future. Esther says, too late. I already wrote this in their history books. So whether you choose to canonize it or not, anti-Semitism, concerns for anti-Semitism shouldn't be the reason that stops you. So apparently Esther had a lot of attitude with the Chacham in her days. She was very adamant about getting the Megillah Esther into Tanakh, and we'll read about next week. It's evident she was successful. So a little self-advocacy could go a far way.
I think this illustrates the halakha that when your enemy comes to kill you, you rise up and kill him first.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm not saying that the Jews weren't justified. I don't think we would canonize it otherwise, but certainly someone who has it out for the Jews can certainly take those passages and use it as a basis to put the Jews in a bad light. Okay.
I don't think that happened. I think what happens, they blame us for killing Yashka.
Well, yeah, that I guess that's ultimately what was used, but the Purim story was before Jesus. So at that time, they didn't realize that the crucifying Jesus was what was going to get the Jews into a lot of trouble. They thought it'd be the Purim story, but I guess they jokes on them. Okay. You know what? I had something about Matanos Yonim, but I realized we only have a few minutes left, and it's better not to squeeze it into the end. I also want to do a Tosos on the principle of Emavir and Al Mitzvos. So you know what? God willing, we'll start with that at the beginning of next year. Were there any questions yet that I did not address before we conclude? No? Okay, shkoach everyone.
By the way, I looked up my own question about Purim in the Jewish way of death and mourning. You do sit Shiva on Purim, and people can come and visit you on Purim. Okay, very good. Thanks for checking that one up. It's the minor holidays get treated different. There's even a discussion about doing Hanukkah, doing Hallel in the base Avel, and Hallel from Purim. Well, not Purim. A Hallel on Hanukkah. So there's Hallel on Hanukkah versus Hallel from other Yom Tovim. So the non-biblical holidays have a lower status naturally in terms of superseding Avelis. That was a Tosos that we saw last week, where 2 weeks ago, I think, where Tosos asked the question, who is Megillah Esther to come along and tell me not to practice Avelis? Avelis precedes Megillah Esther. So how can Purim be used as a means to supersede Avelis? So that was what he discussed. All right. Shkoach, have a wonderful evening and a good Shabbos, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shabbos.
Great.